So I'm sorry to start the conversation talking about our president. So I don't know if you're aware, but in March of 2017, he actually claimed that the Jews are the ones that do those anti-Semitic acts on themselves in order to get the sympathy of the world. The Jews, I mean, how sick can someone be? So the whole Pittsburgh incident, it's conjured up by Jews. We killed 11 people in order to get the sympathy of the world. It's amazing what can come up from a sick and twisted mind like his. And I have been, so this is the conversation in Jewish circles now about what else he's going to say. I mean, isn't this the ultimate? To blame Jews for creating those incidents in order to get the sympathy of the world? Wow, what an expensive way to get the sympathy of the world, by coming up with our own little anti-Semitic events that we love to play with our people. Yeah, and so I'm leaving it on the side. It's hard to imagine how else you can react. In a way, I brought it up because of the fact that you came to me and said to me, you read the book of John again.
Yes.
And you discover how evil and how twisted.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
He gave everyone permission to kill all the Jews he can.
Yeah, and I explained that the book of John, John, who is the final gospel, already realized that they're not going to be able to convert all the Jews. So they got upset. So the writer of the book of John, who of course was not John, who knows? We don't have any proof of who are actually the writers of those gospels. Similar to the difficulty we have in figuring out who wrote the books of the Bible. Isn't it an interesting mystery to try to figure out who wrote this material? But you definitely know that the material was written with a definitely statement about the Jews and how people should feel about this. But I'm happy that you did your homework and you read the book of John. I'm sorry it created such a feeling inside of you. Maybe that's why from time to time Gospels, like books of the Bible, are just quoted with one verse. You have to find a good verse in the book of John and just hold it and embrace it and live with that verse. Because every book of the Gospels or the books of the Bible have all kind of lessons. Just pick up the right verse. Just don't wave it all the time. You know those football games? Do you know what the verses that they put in football games? You know? Yeah. Yeah, John 16, totally. Yeah. Lovely. Anyway, Hanukkah is coming, so I just wanted to maybe repeat a little bit about what we have done in the last 5 weeks, I think. How many weeks? 5 weeks.
5, yeah. How many still need paper? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Oh, we don't have enough copies. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's okay. I'm going to have to make more.
Okay, so share.
Yeah, I'll be right back.
Sharing is good. We talked about the high holidays because we are very close to the high holidays, and also because I didn't have the chance to celebrate them this year because of some of the challenges in my family's life. So I used you by teaching the holidays, getting back for myself into the holidays. Hopefully next year will be better. So this is the opening of the year for the Jew. The opening of the year is going through this serious, non-stop holiday mood that by the time we are done with the last holiday of Simchat Torah, the rejoicing with the Torah, when we finally take the Torah out of the ark and we dance with the Torah and we have flags and we have apples on the top of the flag, we go crazy because we are so sick and tired of fasting and asking atonement. I mean, how many days you should ask atonement for? One day is enough. When I speak to some priests, they don't see the same volume of people that come for confession anymore in the way they used to see them. By the way, they don't miss it. When I play poker with some priest in town, and it's wonderful because they bring the most amazing wine bottles. Because they don't really have expenses. Those that are not married. I'm just kidding. Okay, from time to time I allow. You guys make me very comfortable, so I need to but they definitely are not depressed about not seeing the same value. They know it's a challenge for the structure of the religion, Catholic religion. It's okay. It's okay for them. There's some great stories when you play poker with priests. And in a way, I serve as a confessional rabbi because with me, there's nothing to worry about, what they say. We all have things that we would like to repair in our practice of our religion. And they have it too. And from time to time, you need a crowd of safe people to be able to share this. Nothing is safer than a rabbi playing poker. So Hanukkah is coming, so the material this morning is going to be about Hanukkah. And to understand that Hanukkah is not the Jewish Christmas. I love this. Oh, you guys have your own Christmas. It's called Hanukkah. No, it's not. We made out of Hanukkah because of the competition. We need to explain to our children why we have this miserable holiday called Hanukkah when the only thing we do is light the candles. I mean, it's really a minor holiday. Minor holiday that comes to commemorate an event from the past. And we made it bigger and important and significant because of the Christmas. Because we needed to explain to our children how come our houses are so dark during the Christmas season. I mean, it's boring. My children used to say, to divide the people in the world by saying, let's go see the Christmas people. So I'll put them in a car, and I knew where the best lights in town are, and we will chauffeur them. And one time, there is a live scene of the nativity scene in a church next to our house. And many times I will have hot cocoa for the people standing outside naked, shivering as Roman legions. We'll have some hot cocoa in the car, and I will go and serve hot cocoa to those people shivering outside. And they will say, Rabbi, what are you doing here? Well, I'm coming to help you guys feel warm. Especially when it comes in a season that it's completely cold and miserable. I love those nativity scenes. And I just imagine sometimes the Jews having to do a nativity scene of the exit from Egypt for Passover. Which is nice. It's in April. It's warm, comfortable. I admire those moments of being able to really explain that live nativity scene. And I like when there's camels. Sometimes the nativity scene are so real, it's amazing. But they never have a real baby, which I'm so happy about. They have a doll or some other. But it's definitely, Hanukkah is not the answer. Hanukkah was never meant to be the answer. But Hanukkah has ingredients that are similar to the reason why Christmas is so powerful. We all need some light. We are tired of sitting in the dark and cursing the dark instead of lighting candles and hoping for the best. We Jews were never used to continue sitting in the dark. So the Hanukkah celebration became, for example, if you come to my house, I have a collection of many Chanukiot. So the right word is not Hanukkah menorah, is Chanukiah. Chanukiah is the artifact that holds the candles, Chanukiah. So my wife and I, for years, we collected Chanukiot. So we light all the Hanukkah menorah, the Chanukiot that we have in the house. It's a lot of candles. By the way, how many candles are in a box of Hanukkah candles?
8.
No. How many candles will be available in a box of Hanukkah candles?
47.
What? 44. Beautiful. You have to have 44. You better check your box of Hanukkah candles before you bring it home. If you don't have 44, you'll miss a day. This is just a question for trivia pursuit. If one day you get to this game and they ask you, you'll be yelling, 44. Beautiful. It's on the box. What do you mean, why? Why 44? Because how was your algebra in high school? What? 34?
Very poor.
I'm telling you there's 44. Because in case you break some. Those Hanukkah candles are so tiny and so fragile that you have to be careful getting them out of the box. When I was young, Hanukkah was big in Israel. Why? Because it celebrates the strength of the Maccabees. And so when you are born in a state that is constantly under siege, the Maccabees become your role model. Because those are the soldiers of the past that are going to infuse you with the power to win any war. And in Israel, every other week there was a war when I was growing up, and there is still conflict every day. And maybe we don't hear about what's going on every day, but you know, the local newspaper, the World Herald, is not doing a good job in covering Israeli wars. But it's tense. It's tense. Every day at this moment, there are those Gaza wars. They seem to be minor, but they are huge. Because most of the people on the other side, the Palestinians, don't have the same strength to fight the Israeli army with the amazing arsenal of bombs and guns. And so we see the tragedy that is happening in that land every day. And those of us who are not the admirers of the Prime Minister of Israel, which, by the way, I think Bibi Netanyahu and Donald Trump are born from the same mother. They are such amazing twins in the venom that they're spewing. It's a whole topic to talk about American Jews and where we are in relationship to Israel. I think, you see, when I saw, well, wait, what? Maybe it's urgent. Okay, now I need to start everything from the beginning. When you guys saw the picture of the president with his wife in Pittsburgh, I saw something different. The same picture, but I saw something different. Because the person who accompanied them, two people, two Israelis accompanied the president in Pittsburgh. And both of those Israelis are right-wing militant in the way they understand the Palestinian problem, but they are very close in their ideological opinions to the American president. And so you guys saw the American president coming there and putting the stones and the candles. I saw this terrible collaboration between that president and the people that were responsible for some of the conflict in Gaza. So there was so both of us can see the same picture, but I saw something deeper, something more pervasive than what you guys saw when he went to Pittsburgh. And so he took in his private plane those two individuals, two Israelis. One is the ambassador to the United Nations. The other one was the ambassador to America. So you had two people, both of them with right-wing opinions, that were there accompanying the President of the United States. And the fact that the President or the two Israelis did not walk into the homes of the mourners. So what was it was a photo opportunity, a photo show, to make a statement, but it was such a pathetic statement. Because those Israelis did not visit, and that visit was very short, Pittsburgh landing. So the Jews in Pittsburgh expected the Israelis at least to visit some of the homes where people were sitting Shiva. Shiva means sitting for 7 days. So we are required, when there's a death in the family, to sit for 7 days. In America, you don't see any more people sitting for 7 days. 3 is the maximum. Because 7 days was, in biblical time, a way for a family to arrive at a home of a mourner. Nowadays, with jet planes, people can be there the same day. So 3 days is now the norm. Although we have some Jews that do it 1 day. And we have some Jews that don't do it at all. There are families who are sitting Shiva from the moment the loved one discovered cancer. So the widow already set for 2 years in advance. So we are trying to make the Jewish rituals not a heavy burden on those who are staying behind. Do you understand what I just said? There are families who have been sitting for a long time, even before the death occurred. So there's a way of easing some of the pain by allowing them to maybe make that period shorter. So seeing the two Israelis not visiting the Jews, so the Jewish community in America at this moment is extremely sad about the way Israeli government handled the grief. And it will lead all the way to Hanukkah. Hanukkah is here for many Jewish homes. It's going to be a challenge. Because we take the tragedy and make it ours. What happened in Pittsburgh is my tragedy. It's all of our tragedy, but so we need to deal with the holiday. This Hanukkah will be a very different Hanukkah than any other year. I mean, to figure out that this is the first mass killing of Jews in America. America was supposed to be the golden Medina, the golden land. So it's a trauma. We're going through a trauma now. And Jews love to keep their trauma for a little bit longer. There's something in having a trauma and embracing it and nurture it and massage it. So many years after the Holocaust, it's like happened yesterday, last night. There's something definitely wrong and sick about us. And maybe also glorious. I'm trying to show you the whole spectrum. I'm trying to teach you who we are. And that's why I love interfaith marriages. Because there is something that the Christian partner does that is so healing for the Jew. And by the way, it happens also in marriages with Muslims. Oh my God. Because I'm strange. I believed in this. It took me some time to understand the quality and the gift of interfaith. And this is a good time to talk about this because Hanukkah and Christmas are coming, and in some homes there is a discussion, there is a dialectic that you need to deal with. Once upon a time, the main topic of teaching during this season was the Hanukkah dilemma. This is for interfaith households, how to deal. What do? You put a Christmas tree and you put a Hanukkah menorah next to it? Which, by the way, in some schools they do it. They feel that this is the way to represent the holidays. It's an interesting dilemma. We used to teach couples that are interfaith marriage how to deal with this. We also had to teach Jews how to deal with their children singing beautiful Christmas songs with Jesus bleeding on the cross. West Side. Oh my God, West Side. I will get calls from mothers and fathers who were panicking every time when December came. Rabbi, they are in a show choir and they're singing this song about the bleeding Jesus. Okay, is it a nice song? Yes, okay. No, but those were the calls I got from families that never understood that you have 365 days to teach them about what Judaism is and not to panic about Christmas song. The calls came always from homes where there was a shaking of what they need to do. They didn't know what to do the rest of the year. If you bring the child for Sabbath every 6 days, what do you worry about? If the child is involved in a religious school, if the child is a member of the youth group, what do you worry about? They love show choirs. Oh my God. I'm so happy I don't get those calls anymore. By the way, it was hard to convince the people who are in charge of show choir in West Side to include some serious Hanukkah songs. Hanukkah songs is more than, I have a little dreidel. I agree. The Jesus song.
That's not how it goes anyway. It's dreidel, dreidel, dreidel.
That's another song. So we have two songs.
I have to interrupt you though.
Please.
We have two cars that are blocking a trailer that needs to be moved. So one is a blue Toyota RAV4 BJH104, and the other one is a brown Subaru.
Criminal. Look at him. Look at his face.
Subaru Forester Brown. Somebody's got a brown Subaru Forester? Okay. Thank you. Sorry.
Sorry for acknowledging your sins in public.
I was kidding. I obviously don't know your songs. I was just being
No, but you're right. It's dreidel. I mean, it shows you how minor Hanukkah was for the Jews. The worst possible songs. Since then, we have Jewish composers that have written some amazing Hanukkah songs, and those are great songs to doing rounds for the shock choir. So I had discussions sometimes with the music teachers. And no, of course not, because I have a little dreidel, it's boring, and who wants to do it? Anyway. Yes?
I sang that as a kid.
You sang it as a kid?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I thought it was great.
Yeah, it's...
I didn't know it was a bad song.
I think it's a stupid song. I don't think it's a bad, but we have a richer treasure of Hanukkah songs that can be introduced. I mean, Leonard Bernstein wrote some amazing stuff about Hanukkah. I mean, there are some beautiful sounds that can be introduced. Anyway, all this introduction was to, in a way, show you how minor Hanukkah is, but Hanukkah became larger as a result of living with you, which is fine. No one has regrets about this. Definitely not the capitalist marketplace in America. When I was young, my grandmother, one of my grandmothers, will give me 5 Israeli liras, which is about a dime now. And I will run to the bank and deposit it in my saving account. That was such a joy, You couldn't buy anything then, and you definitely cannot buy anything now. But there was Hanukkah. We had some latkes. Again, latkes because of the oil. So we definitely, all Jews are dying from cardiac arrest. Part of it is because of our food. Our food is terrible, especially Hanukkah, because so much oil is introduced. If you want really to celebrate, because of the miracle of the candles. The more oil, the better. Look at what the Hasidic rabbis from the 17th and 18th century did with Hanukkah. So Hanukkah commemorates the victory. By the way, don't ever read the book of the Maccabees. It's in the Apocrypha. Why are the book of the Maccabees in the Apocrypha? What's Apocrypha?
The books that didn't make it.
The books that didn't make it. And why the books that the Maccabees didn't make it? Because they're the most cruel books ever. Because you have stories about the Maccabees of them slaughtering the people of the towns that they ruled over, that are disgusting. So the Jews were extremely smart. We're keeping it outside of the canon of the Bible because we don't want other nations to look at what the Maccabees did and assume that the Jews are rebellious group of people that is going to also dethrone any kind of empire that came after. Can you imagine if the book of the Maccabees were there during the Romans? They were kept aside. By the way, part of the reason why they are in the Apocrypha is because you don't really know who the writer is. So some of the books that are in the Apocrypha that Christians read are there, and sometimes we don't know who wrote the book. You have less information. And also they were kept out because they don't present the main line of Judaism or Christianity that the early church fathers wanted to eliminate. I mean, you know that the Gospels that are in your Bible are the winning Gospels. All religious writing is political writing. They are assembled and presented to you, including the books of the Bible, because there was an idea that needed to be eliminated. By the way, it will be wonderful to have a class on Apocrypha and start reading those books. Because, for example, just to give you one little book that I love, is the book about Adam and Eve. There's a book in the Apocrypha, Adam and Eve. And the material there presents a whole different story of the first and second chapter in Genesis. It's almost like addition. It's the behavior, it's in a way behavior of a modern couple. The anger between Adam and Eve after the loss of a child. Adam was sitting in his own private room watching TV shows without paying attention to her until she has the third child. And the name is, I bought my husband with that child. I mean, it's fascinating. Take a look next time when you're able to read it. They are not in your Bibles. The Apocrypha is not in your Bibles. But it's a fascinating material that also will provide discussion.
There are some Bibles that have the Apocrypha.
Yeah, but it's heavy, too heavy for Sunday morning. Too heavy for Sunday morning holding it. Okay, who would like to read now Hanukkah? Please. So in the Talmud, wait, no. Where are you? It's on the page that says Hanukkah. Oh, you're right, beautiful, totally. You're right, that's where you have to read it, sorry.
Our sages taught what is Hanukkah.
Yeah, so Hanukkah is so bizarre that there is chapters in the Talmud and the Mishnah came before the Talmud, discussing the question of what is Hanukkah. And so here's what they're saying about
In fact, the word Hanukkah is composed of Hanukkah.
two words, Hanukkah. So, go on.
They dwelt in thus.
In thus. So it's a reference to where the Israelites were dwelling when they left Egypt. Hanukkah. Hanukkah. Hanu means to dwell. Ha is thus. That's what the meaning of the word is. Hanukkah. Go on.
There is an aspect of divinity that is called thus. This is Malchut.
Malchut, kingdom. Melech in Hebrew is king. So there is a concept of divinity that we worship, which is about the kingship of God. Yes?
The seat of divine rule. The king commands, thus will it be, thus will it be.
So listen to what the rabbis are doing now. They listen, this is English translation, of course. So in Hebrew it works also the same way. So the king commands, orders what? Thus shall you do, thus shall you act. That's the order of the king. So that's how they come up to the conclusion that they dwell in thus. They dwell in God's presence, in God's entity. Thus, what the rule of the divinity. Go on.
It is this aspect that issues commands through all the worlds by which the universe is ruled.
Yeah, that's how God acts in the universe. God acts in the universe by saying what? Let there be light. There's no more words. The words that God uttered at the story of creation are minimalistic. Like minimalistic art. When you have a piece and you stand there for hours and you don't know why the artist actually did it. Minimalistic is a way of God speaking to us. Those Mount Sinai events are not going to happen to us in the way they are described in a book. We need to pay attention, and this is again living in a total awareness of small things in our life that has God's stamp. And we better not miss it. We should not expect any one of us for huge, grandiose events to happen to us. By the way, if they happen to us, you're lucky. Great, enjoy it. It's the pebbles in our shoes that we need to pay attention to. Continue.
This is why the
Tzaddikim.
Tzaddikim have it within their power to rule over all the world.
Okay, now comes the truth. Those rabbis that are discussing this material, They are also called tzaddikim, righteous individuals. Tzaddik in Hebrew is a righteous individual. But those righteous individuals, as a result of their relationship to God, can perform similar miracles. That's what their followers believe in them. It's basically suggesting that Chris, who is sitting here, she has the power to change, as a result of her relationship to God, to change things in the order of the world in order to save her parishioners. I believe in it. So they knew that only the righteous, only the tzaddikim. And by the way, light is sown to the righteous. It's a verse that I lifted now from scriptures. Light is sown for the righteous. What light? The light of creation. I mentioned to you before that the light that you see now is not the light that originally was there at creation. That light was so stronger, sevenfold stronger, that none of us was able to bear. And so the light, similar to God, shrunk itself in a way that we can handle it. But the righteous, they are in a different category. Of course, the question comes, if someone calls themselves righteous, they're not righteous. Like the president, he's definitely not righteous. It's clear. So there was a belief, and some of the Hasidic masters are known for their miracle work. They will go similar to the prophets. I mean, why aren't we questioning Elijah's miracle or any of the other miracles of the prophets? The people that lived in that period, or the person who decided to write about the miracles of those righteous individuals, definitely the prophets, are constantly doing miracles. Oh, I forgot. The parting of the Red Sea. Would they believe that it's possible? And also the followers of the Hasidic masters, 17th, 18th century, when life was so miserable, when life was so difficult, they believed that those tzaddikim, those righteous individuals, had power in them to change the order of the world. And of course, that change came as a result of their relationship to God. You can't do it if you don't have God in your soul as strong as possible. So there is a legend about the 36 righteous individuals in Judaism that carry all the burden of the world. So there are 36 people in the world at this moment. They don't know who they are. We don't know who they are. When one of them dies, they're replaced by another righteous individual. And believe me, I think most of them are women. That's what I believe, completely. And they carry the burden of the world. They are capable of entering the world in different places and fix what needs to be fixed. They are our car mechanics, which some of them are righteous people because they don't charge us arm and leg. But it's an interesting legend, and that legend was established sometime in the 15th century, and we still believe in it. The legend of the 36 righteous individuals. And so, let's continue with the reading. They bear within themselves.
They bear within themselves this aspect of divine kingship. So the rabbis have taught us on the verse, the righteous one rules in the fear of God. On this verse they said, who rules over me? The Tzaddik, the blessed Holy One, issues a decree, but the righteous one may cancel it.
They believe that righteous individuals, in their power and wisdom, can cancel decrees. What decrees? There exists in miserable time where there were pogroms and there were all kind of decrees by the king or by the church to do something that is not righteous with the Jews. So they believe that some of their rabbis are righteous individuals, and they are the leaders, the shepherds of the flock, and they have the power to avert evil decrees.
So who's the blessed Holy One who issues the decree?
God.
Okay,
But the righteous have the power to avert some of the decree. So the decrees that are coming, they believe that God is everywhere and that God is issuing. So if something happens to the Jewish people in Poland, the decree came from God, who is responsible for all of the decrees, but the righteous have a power, those individuals, and by the way, there are not so many. Those individuals in our lives have the power to avert and change a decree. By the way, it didn't work all the time. There were still slaughters. But when you don't have any kind of future as a nation, living spread around all nations, you try to find a way to explain or to hope for a change of the decree. And they believe that there are people in their midst that are capable of changing even the decree of God. That doesn't happen every day, guys. Those are rare occasions when they believe that maybe with extra prayer coming from the lips of that righteous individual, the decree can change. That's what they believe. They needed to have some optimism in their life. We should be so glad that we live now here instead. How many of you want to go to the past? How many of you wish you were born during the Spanish Inquisition? Yeah, we Jews never play those games. Because when you look at Jewish history, we call the Spanish, living in Spain, we call it a golden age. That golden age existed maybe for a few years, and then it became bad. So just try to be happy with the period and the life you have now. Don't wish the good old days. They were never good. That's from a Jewish historical point of view. So they believe that those people can do it. Let's continue. Now comes the Zohar. Look how beautiful they also use verses. They use verses, they manipulate verses. The verse from Samuel 2, 23:3 is exactly quoted correctly. So the righteous one rules the fear of God. They can overcome whatever God gives and puts in front of us. If you have a strong belief, good stuff will happen to you. And maybe not. But why would I think about maybe not? If I'm looking to continue with my life and to make the best I can do with my life, I can look at what my wife went 3 months ago, and oh my God, are you kidding? Why would I do this? I need to believe that there are those moments in life that miracles can take place. And that's how they connect this to Hanukkah. The miracle of Hanukkah becomes a paradigm for how to look at life. You know the story of Hanukkah, few Maccabees, and again, the story, when we tell it to the children, we'll tell them lies. We always tell children lies about our scriptures. Come on. How do you teach kids the book of John? I'm sure none of the kids in this church ever read the book of John with guidance from parents.
Sure of that.
Yeah, you can. So we just take one verse from the book and make it important. That's how we work. All clergy work the same way. There is no clergy in the world that is not embarrassed with the scriptures of their religion. We have awful things in the Bible. The stories about Joshua, oh my God, the worst. The mass killing of the inhabitants of the Canaan, what they did to the people that lived in Canaan. Do you think that we give those verses to a bar mitzvah child to chant? Are you kidding? Do you think a bar mitzvah child gets the verses about women having a period, which is in the Bible, and the defilement? Do we want this kid to have traumas for the rest of their life? So we find nice verses. The art of the clergy in the Jewish synagogue is to find appropriate verses from the Torah that the child can chant or read. We don't give them the shitty stuff. Chris, can you say amen to what I said? Yeah, rare occasions. Okay, let's continue. The Zohar is the main book of mysticism, of Kabbalah. 16th century Tzfat. That's where the book was written. It's basically writing in a mystical level of what exactly God's feminine presence is all about. And then the book became actually the jumping board for other mystical Kabbalistic writings all over the world, especially in France and Spain. So go on. Anyone? Yes?
The Zohar objected.
The what? Say it again.
The Zohar objected. Does the tzaddik then control God?
Yeah, if the tzaddik can change the decree of God, then the question is, what? What are you talking about? How can a human being with great insight can change God's decree? Continue.
In fact, it is God himself who cancels the decree.
Of course, that's a way to get out of the discussion. God himself cancels the decrees. Go on.
Several times we have taught that in all their suffering, he suffered.
Yeah, a verse from Isaiah. You guys read the verse from Isaiah, very different than Jews. Which suffering you read in this verse? Come on. Hello? We have the same Bible, but we are reading different things. I read the Bible through Jewish eyes. You guys read the Bible through what? Christian eyes. So what is this verse actually? Who are we talking here?
Suffering of the Messiah?
It's about Jesus' suffering and the suffering of the Messiah, yeah. You read Christianity into that verse. I read not at all that piece because it's not part of my what? My culture, my eyes don't see that. This is why it's so interesting in doing Bible next to each other. Teaching, we all teach how we see it. It will be wonderful to share what you guys really believe in this verse versus a Jewish reading. What's so wrong in having few ways of reading the same verse and learning how each one of us reads the verse? So go on. Referring.
Where did I go? Referring to the Shekinah in exile. Shekinah, so called because she dwells everywhere, is identical with this aspect of divine rule. She is also called Knesset Yisrael, assemblage of Israel, gathering all of Israel within her, since all of them are derived from her.
Okay, let's stop here for a second. There was a dilemma to how to continue Judaism after the Roman Empire exiled all the Jews. What do? You have, some of you maybe attended Friday night at Temple Israel. There was a scholar. Yeah.
I asked you about him in the
What?
I said I was just going to ask you about his
Yeah, I mean, he is capable of talking about each topic for days. I mean, the man is a computer mind, like his father. His father was my teacher. But he talked about what happened, how Judaism survived after 70 CE. 70 CE was as powerful as the Holocaust for the Jews of that time. Because suddenly you had to deal with what? What happened? Destruction of the temple where the sacrifice was done on a daily basis. You do the sacrifice, this is how the smoke and the smell goes to God, and that's how you repent. I mean, there was a menu of sacrifices, like a menu in a restaurant. You go to the temple, and the Levites or the priest asks you, you came here for what reason? And then, I came here because I disobey the vow that I took. Oh, okay. That requires 3 cows and a bull. I'm just, Okay, so that's how I kept my relationship to God. And then one day they wake up and there's no building. There's no place to go. If I don't have the right gatekeepers at that moment, who are called the rabbis, creating a theology that is completely different than what you guys used to do, I lose the Jews. We were so close so many times. This is why we are strong. And this is why we feel we are strong. Because at different times, almost overnight, I exaggerate about overnight, because the Romans were there in a siege for many years. But it's a short time. I need to create a theology that will keep my flock in line. Although it's different line, I still need to be there, help them. By the way, think about 80 years ago, after the Holocaust, why would a Jew stay a Jew after the Holocaust? I mean, so we had to create a theology that says what? In this verse, in his suffering. So we created a theology that God was gassed in the crematorium. He was there. We had to imagine God in the camp in order to allow Jews to continue believing in God. Again, this did not happen overnight on a cup of coffee. Oh, how are we going to keep the Jews? Oh, I have an idea. Let me finish my coffee and we'll talk about it. No, those kind of things take time. I mean, some of us are still living with the trauma of the Holocaust. We cannot shake it out of our system. Actually, everyone should live with the trauma of the Holocaust. It happened to all of us. It's not only Pittsburgh that happened to all of us, it's everything else that happened. Christianity too had different stations in their development. The theology that you guys are learning from your clergy it did not come overnight. I mean, the book that Eric wrote, the books, or your PhD work, this is something that is part of theology that is developed along the years. I mean, it's different. You guys know that you are different from other Christians? How many of you think that you are different from other Christians? Yeah, okay. Look at the hands. By the way, the same way other Christians feel about you, that's how the Orthodox Jews feel about me. You're not the real rabbi. I went to Jerusalem to participate in my sister's wedding. And the rabbi said, my sister said, he's a rabbi. Can he join? No, I can't. He's not the real rabbi. Because in Israel there's no separation of church and state. All the church is Orthodox Judaism. What?
Oh, I said, my husband knocking on doors, campaigning, got that last week. You're not a real Christian, you belong in that church.
That's great. Oh, yeah, elections bring the worst in us and the best in us. Let's continue, please.
Thus our sages, Shabbat 128a, taught all Israel are children of kings, of Malchut.
Malchut, Melech. Melech in Hebrew is king.
All sufferings that Israel undergoes, God forbid, secretly belong to the fall of Shekinah.
Oh, so here's the brilliance of Judaism. They said, in addition to God's existence in the world, there is this feminine presence of God, Shekhinah. In a way, this is as revolutionary as the God that was created as a result of the New Testament. I mean, there is in Christianity part of the Greek understanding of good and evil. That there is evil, but someone else is in charge of evil. My God is pure and good and white and great. And then there is the evil, the Satan or the devil or the ugly forces. The same way that you guys had to have this in early Christianity, we Jews came up with, there's the Shekhinah, there is the feminine presence of God. So God in a way is both male and female. And I told you what I love. I love the female presence of God completely. I cannot relate to God as with a masculine terminology. Maybe I was supposed to be a woman. Why not? Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea to try to live outside of your skin sometimes. So that's what they said. There is the fall of Shekhinah. By the way, that term, the fall, who else fell? What? There was a fall there. We just read the book of Genesis, very different than yours. But definitely something broke with Adam and Eve. There's some kind of a breakage. We don't assign it to original sin. We don't talk about original. Jews never talk about original sin. They prefer to have a bagel with lox. You'll never hear a conversation from a Jew about original sin. What sin? Who sins? Continue.
But go back to, may I ask you?
Yeah, please, yeah.
The feminine nature of God calling. So I'm not sure I understand that in traditional Judaism. So that is a,
We had to
why
read.
is that a bad thing? I mean, that's true in Christianity too.
So until the 16th century, nothing was wrong with God. So some of the philosophy started already with the exile from the land. They had to bring strength to the Jews living all over the place. So then they came up with first of all, God is everywhere. We didn't have God is everywhere till the year after 70 CE. God is only in the building, in a box. And the box has the 10 Commandments, and that's why Spielberg made so much money. In a way, Spielberg is an interpreter of the Bible. His movies are definitely his version of what the story is, which I like. They all have Nazis there melting with their faces. You know how good I felt about seeing Nazis melting? By the way, what was the other movie where Nazis became, by a different movie director? What was the name of it? A what? No. They don't melt there. Anyway, I'll remember. It's a young guy that everyone loves now. He's a director of movies. What?
Ron Howard?
No.
It was Harrison Ford, and I know the movie, I can't say.
No, Harrison Ford was not in that movie. Okay, my fault. I don't remember. So back to your question. There was
I maybe am overlaying feminism and patriarchy and.
yeah, which is all of this discussion. Until 20 years ago, if you came to my library at the temple, you will not see a lot of theological books written by women. So there is this constant development and constant research and writing of material. By the way, you'll not find anything about yoga there too. No, I mean, there's so many more books now written about Jews than yoga. They're all discovering yoga. So I think that from time to time, when you have those very narrow straits to walk through in order for the religion to survive, you come up with materials that sometimes you need to justify, and they justify it here by what? Lifting verses from the Torah and interpreting it completely differently than what previous generation did. This is why we Jews are a religion of text. We really don't care as much about God as you think we care about God. Give me the text. What year am I? I'm 2018. I'm going to interpret the text in such a way that would allow you to survive a 2018, because that's what I need to do in order for Jews to survive. Desperate steps, sometimes. That's all. We are so small. We are 15 million in the world because we are stupid. We couldn't create a more attractive religion. We were there in the beginning. How come we failed? From the beginning, we knew that we are talking about the remnant of Israel. The rabbis and the prophets, they knew that this is going to be a minor religion with an amazing message. I mean, you Jews have to be light to the nations. What a chutzpah. You didn't give me, how can I be light to the nations? Look at this. They're still killing 11 of us in Pittsburgh. What light are you talking about? And those are the values, the commandments, what we are supposed to do. So it's frustrating sometimes. That's why no one liked the idea, when I was a rabbi at Temple Israel, to have a mass knocking on doors and starting to convert people. The only way Jews can have more Jews is by active work of trying to have more classes, more people being attracted to Judaism, and to have converts. How else are we going to have them? The Jews are a child and a half on the average. 2 cars in a garage, a dog, child and a half. Where are the Jews going to come from? It's amazing sometimes how God acts. Opens the doors in Russia and allows for 1 million Jews to immigrate. Wow. That gives amazing strength. But 15 million, that's it. So it's do we stay? I had larger dreams. My people freaked out when I said this to them. I think we should go and start knocking on the door. Oh, Rabbi, we are not that kind of religion. Well, we're not that kind of religion because no one allowed us to be that kind of religion. What about, we have something to sell. We have something that is unique about us. What's wrong in sharing it with the rest of the world? What do you think the tri-faith came as an idea? I think the tri-faith is, in a way, an experiment, not to convert, but to teach, to be able to be more, to stop being so exclusive. Judaism became exclusive because of what our history is all about. Maybe it's time to think differently. So I said, let's put in the World Herald advertising, We did it. It's unbelievable what happened. Let's put in the World Herald invitation to people in Omaha to come to Introduction to Judaism class. That was when I had a partner by the name of Debbie Steele. We were shocked. We had to make it we had so many people that came, and we had to go and accept them and see who they are. And we kept records. We had 675 people that came from Omaha to learn about Judaism. You remember that? You came, and you're still here. There was no intention of conversion at all, just introduction. People were curious. My people said, "Oh my God, you're going to make more anti-Semites." What? They were so scared of this. They tried to convince me not to do it. I asked permission. And then I stopped asking permission. If you want to do something, if you're Jewish, you don't ask permission. Because we still have people that live in the fear of something happened to them. After Pittsburgh, some of the fear that is emerging in my community is unbelievable. They're coming now, they're coming here in Omaha. I mean, this can happen in any place in America. For the first time, there is a level of fear that my Jews will have to go and see a psychiatrist to help them. We always leave, I told you, we always leave with one eye open. Now 2 eyes are open. It's not only checking the security of Temple Israel. That is 100 times better than what we used to do. We used to have a camera on Cass Street that never had a film in. Just there. And I had a button of panic button in my office and in the bottom of the pulpit in case something happens. But many times, and it's not a secret, in the high holidays, when I was turning my back to my congregation because I needed to bow to the Ark and the Torah, not to the Ark, to the Torah, I had a cold sweat running through my back. Because I know about the rabbi in Detroit that was killed in the high holidays. I know by a crazy member of his congregation. But now, as a result of Pittsburgh, that level is increasing. And now we have some parents that don't want to send a kid to school. So we need to figure out, You guys don't feel it yet? You guys are crazy by joining the Tri-Faith. Absolutely crazy. And also, so fortunate. Yes?
Eric, our minister here, yesterday said, "I think of myself now as a Jewish Christian Muslim."
They'll be fantastic. I mean, I have the same feelings. As a result of the relationship, I think, you know how important it is for my people to know that they are loved by you? You cannot imagine the conversation that we have in a synagogue. So you can take what happened in Pittsburgh and make it into a doomsday story. It's going to be all over the place. I look at what happened by having so many people at those worship services after Pittsburgh. What are you talking about? They love us. I see the love. I don't see the fear. It's the way you are brought up, the way you look at scriptures, and what is the purpose. What are we here for? I think that incident in Pittsburgh raises the question, what are we all here for? And when you ask that question, we are here to do exactly, to give the answer to that individual. We are here to do the opposite of what that individual wanted to do. That philosophy. That definitely has a place. And the worst is that the one person, you heard about, his name is Miller, the one that writes the stuff for the president, Stephen Miller. He is a kid that grew up in a Jewish setting, had a bar mitzvah, His rabbi is so embarrassed that he gave him a bar mitzvah. All of us, I mean, we have, sometimes the worst people that emerge are people from your own camp. I had a chance to preach about Miller. I mean, in every generation, every religion has those people from inside that are trying to destroy. We all have to watch them and shun them completely in a kind way. I don't want my words to suddenly make murderers out of you. God forbid. Continue, let's finish this.
Scripture refers to this in, you weaken the rock that bore you.
Okay, so that's from Deuteronomy. A simple verse in Deuteronomy. Look at now what the interpreters will do with this verse. Go on.
The righteous restore us and bring us back to God. The oil of the candles refers to wisdom, as in God grants wisdom from the full mouth, knowledge and understanding. Proverbs 2:6. Teaching us with higher mind, enabling us to serve God in a more mindful and contemplative way. All this takes place through the mitzvah of lighting the Hanukkah candles. Just as it was then, so it is in every generation when the time for this commandment arrives.
Wow. That oil, it's all about the oil. But not about the miracle, but when you light the candle, and by the way, they used to have different candle, with the oil. Some people still have, I have few of those Hanukkah menorahs, or Chanukiot, with oil and a wick. There's a lot of work to play with this. And you mess up the entire house. So we don't use it. We buy candles. How many candles in a box? 44. Okay, don't forget this. One day you're going to be asked about it. The oil, it's all about the oil, which is such a powerful liquid in all religions. Oil. So instead of sitting in the dark and cursing the darkness, you light a candle. That's why it's so beautiful this season. I can't wait to take my grandchildren and now watch the lights. I don't go to Jewish neighborhood. There's nothing. Although we have some Jews that build these big dreidels with, we Jews are trying to be like you guys. To spend a lot of money on electricity during this season. It's the simplicity of the candle, the soul. What do we do when someone dies? We light a candle. The candle represents the soul of the human being that died. That's part of the Easter service, when you see the candles. That's why it's interesting, everyone does it. Next to the place in Pittsburgh, next to the synagogue, hundreds of candles, in addition to the flowers and pictures and memories. There's so much power in just lighting a candle. And we do it every night. And then, of course, how you entertain yourself as a child, you have a bet which candle will disappear first. So you sit, and then you have some siblings that cheat. By the way, we Jews are not allowed to turn to on Shabbat. Shabbat, you light 2 candles for Shabbos. That's every Shabbat, every Friday night at sunset, we light 2 candles for Shabbat. And so what if you need to go to the synagogue? No one wants to leave burning candles at home. So we put, of course, the candles, you're not supposed to let them, turn them. You put the candles in a sink. So that's safe. Or you do the following, which is permitted in Judaism. You stand next to the candle and you ask, when is Pesach? 1 candle goes. And then the answer is, you still have another candle. The answer is, it's usually after Purim. And that's how you solve the issue of the dilemma of the candle. Because going to synagogue is more important than burning your house.
Rabbi,
Yes.
I think some of trying to do the math with the Hanukkah candles. Some Christians don't know you don't blow them out and reuse them the next day, that they have to melt all the way down.
Oh, you think this is the dilemma with some of the people? Yeah. Every night you have to put new candles. You have to, oh, you guys don't. Don't you keep the tree forever? Yeah. No, we are original. We need to supply the money to the factory that makes the candles. So the idea is to light the candle. You start with one. You have a serving candle. So actually the first night you light 2 candles. You put a candle there and you light the candle that is the serving candle. That candle is always higher on the Hanukkah menorah. So you always see a candle higher. Why? Listen to the lesson. What a beautiful lesson. He is in a higher position because he serves the other candles every night. That's how you become righteous. When you take the responsibility of the serving candle, where you ignite flames in other people. What do you think we do here? What is the role of every one of us? Every one of us have to serve as that candle. That's why you're in a higher position. So when you buy Hanukkah menorah, don't complain that one setting is a little bit higher. That's supposed to be this way. And then the other pain is that you need to clean this after every night to clean the wax, because then you can put the candle for the next day. So this is a great chore. That's how you get 44. I'm sorry, I didn't explain this. You guys think that we keep the same candles all the time? No. We have to have the excitement of the new day. And I explained last time that you start with 2 candles and then you increase. So you increase in holiness. You want to bring more light to the house. You don't start, hey, I know that the miracle happened for 8 days. Maybe I should start with 8 candles. No, you don't. You never diminish holiness. Sacredness, you never diminish. You don't narrow. You increase.
Isn't that why the candles on a true menorah are so small? Because you do let them burn out.
Because I need to go to sleep, for God's sake. What are you talking about? If I had long candles on a Chanukiah, I would never go to sleep.
They're only about 4 inches long and they're real skinny, right?
They're very skinny. They're different colors. So you put the candles every night with different colors, so it makes it exciting. And then the kids ask questions, how come it's different? And the kids stay around. I can't wait for the grandchildren, for Hanukkah. And you put some chocolate money, it looks in gold coins, and you play with dreidels, and that's how the night goes by. We learned that we need to add new prayers. So it's not just reciting the prayers for the Hanukkah candles. On the first night, only the first night, you recite a prayer, thanking God for arriving at this moment, because the second night you already arrived. The night before, you don't have to say the prayer. It's all calculated. We don't need to suffer too long.
Rabbi?
Yeah.
I used to teach school, and during December, I would do units on Hanukkah, Christmas, and Kwanzaa.
Yeah.
As an example for multicultural
Yeah.
activities. I had more kids say to me, well, I want to celebrate Hanukkah. That's cool, man. I mean, that's what they do. They're celebrating this.
Yeah. And Friday night, one of the teachers at the church here saw me in services, and she said, I'm not working there anymore, but I wanted to go to my class. And so it's pretty, I love when I'm invited to do Hanukkah in the church here. It's great.
Well, this is in the public schools, and I suppose that
Yeah.
I couldn't go at it as a religious, I couldn't say the religious part of a Hanukkah or Christmas.
Yeah, because God doesn't exist in schools. You know. Thank God for that. Oh my God.
And so I tried to come at it as cultural
Yeah,
activities.
yeah.
And cultural, so I got away with it for 38 years.
Yeah, but you have to bring the food. You have to bring the latkes, then it becomes cultural. Once they eat something.
Well, once they ate them, they said, these are good, aren't we going to do this again? So I think that's why they wanted to change and not do Christmas anymore, why they wanted to
They call it winter holidays. Yeah.
Yes.
Look at the next paragraph.
The 8 days of Hanukkah stretch beyond the
No,
normal.
where are we? No. You go down. That's just interpretation of what we just did. But I do a better job than their writing, so we skip it. Okay.
The Talmud teaches
Yeah.
that the commandment of lighting Hanukkah candles should be performed between sunset and the time when feet disappear from the marketplace.
So it's fabulous. So in the Talmud, there's dealing with Hanukkah. So in the last 4,000 years, every text had to do interpretation of what Hanukkah is. And every generation added other interpretation. So there is a verse in the Babylonian Talmud, Tractate Shabbat, page 21, side B. I mean, they give you the text here. Each page of the Talmud has 2 sides, and no sides is wasted. So you have to study both sides. And the Talmud is a text where both the winning and the losing opinion are there side by side. Can you imagine the Gospels arranged in this way? The page, the Gospel that won, but then the Gospel that maybe had a different opinion. Can you imagine them next to each other? How much wisdom we can gain from this? No. We just put the winning Gospels. And so every year, there's a new Gospel being discovered. Because the church keeps everything in the archives. I would love one day to bust the archives of the Pope. Because there are some texts there and manuscripts that belong to my people that were hoarded by them. I don't want to have text appear every few years. I want everything open. They're scholars. It's so hard to get access to that vault. I think this is the most amazing vault in the world. And he keeps it locked. Anyway, sorry. I have to be angry at someone. All right, let's continue, please.
Know that the miracles of our Creator, that our Creator has performed for us, are divisible into 3 categories. There are hidden miracles and revealed ones.
Yeah, the world is divided by hidden miracles and revealed ones.
The revealed miracle, like those that took place for our ancestors in Egypt, including the 10 plagues and the splitting of the Red Sea, involved a change in the natural order.
Yeah, so some miracles, which we know about, were really caused a change in the nature of the world. Because the water never splits. The water never goes back. And the plagues, those plagues were one shot. Don't expect similar miracles. It's hard enough for God to change the order of the natural world once in God's existence. Okay? Those are the revealed miracles because they're written and we know that they existed. Go on.
Everybody witnessed these miracles. But then there are hidden miracles, like those that took place in the days of Mordecai
And Esther, the book of Esther, the Purim miracle. That's how we celebrate Purim. Go on.
things that appeared natural. First, the king raised up
Haman. That's the story of Purim or the book of Esther. Go on.
Then, because he loved his wife, he had his friend killed for her sake. So, too, the Hanukkah miracle, as mentioned in the
Al-Anisim prayer on the miracles, yeah.
He handed over the many to the few, the defiled to the holy, etc., is a hidden miracle. It came about partly through battle. The same is true of the story of Judith.
Judith is a book that is in the Apocrypha. So this is one of the books that they are aware that is in the Apocrypha. Go on.
These really were miracles, not natural occurrences, but they happened in a secret way. This was noted by Rabbi
Of Prague. By the way, I wish all of you will get to Prague. It's a mysterious, miraculous place. And to go to the cemetery there, which is 1,500 years old, and to see the grave of this man. So he in Judaism, the rabbi from Prague, is known as a tzaddik. He is a guy that was able to, through his prayers and the sincerity of the prayers and the way he led the Jewish people of Prague, was capable of even making changes in the world that are of nature. One of those unique people. Go on.
The rabbi from the author of Or, the hidden miracles, those that are not so easy.
Yeah, he wrote books about the miracles that are hidden, that are not so clear. All of us have those miracles. Tell me how many miracles each of you experience in your life. Oh my God, you can write a book about those miracles. That maybe you assume that they just happened, but it is possible they originated miraculously in God's existence. Why do we have such difficulty? And this is what Hanukkah does for us. So Hanukkah is an opening of the portal. It's not just a holiday that I do because my ancestor did. Here's a chance, Christmas or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa, to open a portal in our souls to be able to witness the miracles in our lives. We are so blind to our lives. We are blind to our authentic selves. And so holidays are there to ooze us, to push us, to say, stupid you! You're not really seeing what's going on. Look at our lives. I think every one of our lives is a miracle here. And I don't know why we build so many stoppages not to believe in it. That's how we start the morning, a Jew start the morning by thanking God for keeping all the openings open and all the closing closed. Because I will not be able to take a shit. But what a simple prayer. But what a way to start the day. I know where my heart is. It's a hidden. Thank you, God, for keeping it closed. But all the rest of the openings which I need to use in the morning, and maybe when I get older, use it more in the morning. A lot more. Many more times. It is a miracle. But you start the day already with this amazing optimism for the rest of the day. Oh my God, am I going to notice the rest of the days and the miracles that exist that are maybe hidden? Thank you. Any questions? It's a problem when you have a watch there, a clock there.
Yes. It's a problem.
Thank you. Now you know what Hanukkah is all. And that's what Christmas is also about. The same message. Away from the gifts, away from the wrappings. It's about opening again the child eyes in all of us. That's why the tree and the menorah have to be next to the window, so everyone can witness the miracle. Please. What? I love it. Beautiful.
He has a wonderful sense of humor.
Beautiful.